y'all, it's Frank Payne with another episode of Loud and Unfiltered, and I gotta tell you, today's is a very exciting one for me because we're gonna get to feature someone that's been a huge inspiration on my career, somebody that's had an impact on my life, somebody that means the world to the music industry. She has touched so many lives, so many radio stations. It's just amazing to listen to this incredible woman tell her stories about all the years she's been in the music industry. I think you're going to love her as much as I do after you listen to it. Now, I got to warn you, this is a longer episode, the longest we've had to date, a little over an hour for this one, but it's going to feel like it just flew by because of all the amazing stories that Roxy Myzal has to tell you. So just a warning, it is over an hour. I'm not going to cut this one up into 2 episodes or anything like that. I'm not going to edit it down. I mean, you're getting 100% natural, organic conversation between Roxy Myzal and myself, and I felt it wouldn't do it justice if I tried to edit it in any way or cut it up in multiple episodes. It's just a work of art listening to this woman talk. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoy having her in my life as a friend and a mentor. And I hope that you learned some stories about the music business that maybe you didn't know before. So here you go. It's another episode of Loud and Unfiltered, this one featuring Roxy Myzal. Hey, thanks for joining us on another episode of Loud and Unfiltered. Today, we are joined by a friend of mine that when the whole idea of this show came about, she was the top of the list, the Mount Olympus of storytellers, of guests that I wanted on the show. Her accolades would take the entire show. So what we're going to do is just let you listen to, listen to a couple stories from the legendary Roxy Myzal. How are you doing today? I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm so pleased to be here, man. I'm so happy to help you get this thing off the ground, if that's what's happening here.
Yes, and, of course.
I'm sure you're going to find some great, other people to talk to. By the way, speaking of which, I'll tell you a couple of people I spoke with and who definitely would be willing to be on the show. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Cool. Yeah. So, to describe Roxy Myzal, since Dos Equis has the most interesting man in the world, then the music biz has the most interesting woman in the world. And Roxy. Roxy, you've touched so many lives in so many eras, in so many genres. You literally, you lived at the perfect age. You served the industry at the perfect time. How did you first, there's so many questions I want to ask you, and I've got a list of them. But what was that initial inspiration? What the bug for music, what started that?
Well, I would have to say it was the Beatles. I was a huge Beatle maniac, huge. I remember like 13, 14 years old, going to Woolworths and buying all the Beatle cards and the posters. And I had every record. And the minute a single would come out, I'd be we had a record store in my hometown of Gloversville, New York, where you would be able to go in. It was called Beeman's. You'd be able to go in and grab a 45 and sit in a little tiny booth and play it, and play it. I can't do that anymore. But anyway.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so Beatles, I would say, were really the start of it. And then Led Zeppelin, the first Led Zeppelin concert in 1969, I got to see them in a tiny club in Schenectady, New York, called the Aerodrome. Stole my father's Cadillac, packed it with like all my friends. We get there. I don't even know if I was if I even had a license at that point. I think I was 17. But so we get to the show. It was back in the day when you sat on the floor. You didn't have a seat. There was no ticket number. You just had general admission, sat on the floor. So we're sitting on the floor and we're kind of, 10 people back, whatever, in the crowd. And Plant gets up and Plant's singing and how many more times, and he goes, and I've got you, and I stand up and I go, in the, he goes, tell that bird she's got the job, right? So all my friends are like, sit down. Okay, so I sit down. Now meanwhile I'm thinking, Led Zeppelin, did he, thinking that's his name, did he just ask me to be to work for the band?
Yeah.
Holy crap. So wait till the show is over, and literally the band is standing around putting their gear away, and Robert is talking to a couple of guys. So I wait until he's done, and I walk up to him and I say, excuse me, but I'm the bird that you said had the job. What's the job?
Yeah.
So he's like this, and he's freaking me out, and he goes, well, if you come with me to Framingham, Massachusetts tonight, you can have the job. And that was actually their first US gig, was in Framingham, but this was a warm-up show in Schenectady, right? 200 people were in this room. So all right, so meanwhile, he walks away, because I'm all like, well, what is the job? What is the job? So then I turn around and I look, and I always look down when I walk for some reason, because I'm clumsy. And I find this big portfolio wallet right on the ground, and I open it up, and the passport opens up with it, and it's Jimmy Page's. So meanwhile, he's over at the bar with his guitar slung over his back, and he's talking to a couple of guys having a beer, and I go, excuse me, I think you dropped this. He goes, oh, thank you so much. May I buy you a drink? And I didn't really drink then. So I was like, I'll have whatever you're having. Right.
Yeah.
So they give me beer. And I go to the bartender, can you put some ice in this?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my first brush with rock and roll. And I was also a huge Zeppelin fan, and growing up, there were so many bands, that were just coming around, and, it was like Hendrix and the Doors and, Jefferson Airplane. And I mean, it was crazy. It was really, really crazy.
Now, do you are there songs? I mean, I'm sure there are. We all have those songs that evoke emotion, but being that that's such a legendary era, you just mentioned literal gods in our industry. So do you hear stuff, hear songs, or maybe smell something that evokes an emotion that just, zaps you right back into that moment, and you still have that adrenaline rush from?
Sure. I mean, I think with regards to those artists, anytime I hear that music, it reminds me of, hey man, I remember being in so-and-so's head shop when, when this was being played, or I remember dropping some acid listening to the Velvet Underground. Or, it was like crazy, things that, bring back.
That does make a lot of sense.
And again, this is like late 60s, early 70s. So, and then I went off to college, and
well, and you went off to college, and then out of college, that's just kind of another big stepping stone of the legendary career. This needs to be a freaking movie. I know you've already been in a documentary, and we'll talk about that later, but your life needs to be a movie, because then in comes the disco era and the Boston record pool. Now, give us a little insight on the day in the life of Roxy back in the Boston record pool days.
Yeah, that would be like 1974. I graduated from college, and I was going to be, teach theater ed and speech.
Mm-hmm.
And the Boston school system at the time was very racist, and I just wasn't digging it. So I got a job in an Italian restaurant, mm-hmm. and a good friend, a good customer would come in, and turns out he owned a little entertainment magazine, a Boston music magazine. And so he asked me if I would be willing to come work with him running this disco record pool that he was forming. And I was like, well, what is that? So, explained it, and I went, sure, I'd love to do that, because I was dying to get out of that restaurant. The
right.
terrible. Anyway, So yeah, we started this little organization, ended up being with 75, club DJs, and we'd have all of these billboard reporters, and they were like state of the art guys that would like take the soundtrack from the Wizard of Oz, want to play ball scarecrow, and put it over like segues and stuff, and it was like the coolest thing.
Wow.
So anyway, so we broke a lot of bands, like Dr. Buzzard's Savannah Band, and Play That Funky Music, White Boy by Bob Cherry, and oh God, the list goes on and on. There were just so many. So from that, I became friendly with the music director of the Top 40 station, because we'd say, hey, we're really getting a lot of response in the clubs to Dr. Buzzard Savannah Band. Maybe that's a song you could, check and see if retail, and, maybe you could, give a spin. And so I became really close with the music director at WRKO. And Carol Singer, who I wish I could find one day. We've lost touch after decades. Anyway, so she at the time she was at WRKO in Boston. It was AM, and so she suggested me for the music director gig at their FM Top 40 in New York City, and I went, I don't know if I want to leave Boston. I love what I'm doing here. I love Boston. I can't imagine, moving to the big city, even though I was from, upstate New York originally. But so I went in and had the interview, and it went really great. And then I went to see all my friends in the disco world and different offices and whatnot, and flew home and thought, I don't think I'm going to take the job. So I tell Carol, it was really great, but I turned them down. And what? So meanwhile, she gets every local promotion guy to call me up to tell me what an idiot I am for like turning that job down. What are you, crazy? You got to do it. Meanwhile, you ready for this?
Yeah.
$100 a week is what I was making in Boston, and that's what they were offering me to move to New York City.
Oh my
There's no way I can live in New York City for that money.
No.
Oh, you'll be able to, it'll be fine. You'll figure it out, and I'm like, okay. Well, I did. I found a really cheap apartment. And so I lived right near John and Yoko.
What?
I had a little studio apartment a block away from them, and I would see them at the dry cleaners or at the Chinese, at a restaurant, whatever. But
holy cow!
So I took the gig, and then from there it was just ba-boom. I brought disco to the Top 40 station. We became the number one, music station in the market, beating everybody. It just one book.
Yeah.
But still, I had wave my flag on that one.
But that was I mean, the era that's in. That's a hell of a flag. If we didn't say anything else about the rest of your career, just ending it there, bam.
Yeah.
So
our cume, I think, was 1.35 million.
Holy shit.
And we played Van Halen, Chic, and then Elvis Costello. And I wanted to play the Ramones, the head of the music, the head music director for the company would not let me do it. He was, I guess the band had played something out in LA. He oversaw all the stations, and I don't know, caused a riot or something. He said, no, we couldn't play the Ramones. I'm like, but they're New York. This is like totally happening. Punk is like huge here, I'm like, not sorry. So then Atlantic Records wooed me. And then I left radio and went to the record company side.
See, and the record company side, coming from, the radio side, then going to the record company side, you're in a really small group that gets to experience a perspective that very few of us do in the industry, because that is really interesting. You've you can kind of be the Jekyll to your Hyde in that regard.
Yeah, it was funny because your goals are different. Obviously, it's the opposite end of the spectrum, really. And I knew how to promote the stations because I knew the kind of information I wanted to hear about a record, to help to start it. But I only did that job for about, this was local New York promotion, which in New York City, when the record company is based there, you are basically a delivery person, because the national guys were all calling the program directors of the #1 market. You were just like, oh, okay. But I made some good friends, and anyway, so about, I don't know, 6 or 7 months into the job, I was offered the gig at Atlantic, and then I turned it down the first time, and then I came back again, and I said, oh, after they changed, they got rid of my initial program director, who I love, this guy Bill Garcia, and they brought this guy in. It was a big deal. He lives out in Tucson now, Bobby Rich. But Bobby was trying to change the station into like a Southern California sound. And that's, the Sanford Townsend band was not a New York City band. And I couldn't impress that upon him. So finally, when Atlanta came back, I went, okay, I'm out of here. And I did what I could.
Yeah, that was kind of the what you just said right there was kind of I don't know, one of my arguments against national corporate programming of radio, because when you got one person in one office programming for all these different stations, I mean, the boss is huge up northeast, but you better be playing Skinner down here. It's and having that it's, I understand exactly your feelings behind that, because being able to appeal to your local regional audience, that's important.
Yeah, I went to every show, everything that came to town. I went to, and golly, so I kind of felt like I know more than he does out in LA. But anyway,
who knows you have no idea what your own market is there. Come on, Roxy. I mean,
exactly.
So as we continue on this path, I hope everybody is still following us, because it's going to take some twists and turns when it comes to the life and times of Roxy Myzal. Now, I remember how impactful the launch of MTV was on my life. You happen to be part of a launch like MTV, but way ahead of your freaking time. And I think everybody's going to see a trend. Everything you do and touch is ahead of its time, Roxy.
Well, it's funny there, because at the time and you're skipping the fact that I worked at Rolling Stone for a minute. We had a syndicated rock radio show on 325 AOR stations.
Yeah, that's right.
It was kind of a big deal when you think about how many there are now versus then. But it was called Rolling Stone's Continuous History of Rock and Roll, and it did really well. And I always want to quickly tell my Hunter S. Thompson story. So I'm in my office and I'm on the phone with some radio station, and all of a sudden I'm hearing a bullwhip cracking and typewriters flying, people screaming, and because my office was down the hall just off of where all the writers were, right, for Rolling Stone. And so I tell the person, I have to call you back. I don't know what's going on out there. I step into the hallway. Now, meanwhile, Kurt Loder and Chris Connolly were working there as well then. And Chris is at, I think, CBS or ABC News, whatever. And I forget what Kurt's doing now. But anyway, so we look into the room, and there were all these long tables with typewriters and writers and whatever. And so Hunter is, well, I didn't know who Hunter was at the time. So here's this guy with the baseball hat and the aviators and the cigarette holder and a bottle of Rebel Yell and a giant bullwhip. And he's snapping it at Jan Wenner. And Jan is like screaming, doing belly flops, like sliding across desks, typewriters flying. And I turn to Kurt and I say, who the hell is that? He goes, my dear, that's the very famous Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. And I went, oh my God. I mean, they were obviously having a major fight over something, probably Hunter wanted to do, and Jan said no, but anyway, I digress. But I was in radio syndication. That's where I started, was in the 80s, right? All right. So then I got offered the man who used to be the program director of WABC, who was a big wig at ABC Radio Network, the O&Os, he was consulting, and he was consulting this couple of radio legends in Boston that started a 24-hour music video station. And unlike MTV, MTV had been around for a while, like 4 years. But unlike MTV, this was live and local. So we could tell you the time and the temperature, and Aerosmith would walk in and, hey, whatever. And we'd put them right on the air. I mean, it was just fun, crazy, off the cuff, do whatever you wanted to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it was actually also one of my favorite gigs. I just, we had state-of-the-art studios. It was really amazing. But unfortunately, we couldn't get the ratings. But one silly show that I did on Sunday nights called the New Music Show had one of the highest ratings of any show that the station had. And all I did was hold up the album. This new video came in. I would pick like 10 new videos that came in for the week, and I talk about where it was shot and who the director was and little stories behind it, and show the album and whatever. And that thing, did really, really well. And I was so proud of that. I even kept the Nielsen rating book for that,
Well, no, as well you should. I mean, and for those that are checking this out, Nielsen ratings, that's we live and die by the ratings. That's a big deal. My wife and I took a trip to Italy and Greece a few months ago. And I can't remember where we were at, but it was a restaurant. We were eating at a restaurant, and all the TVs, instead of having like sports on or something like that, they had a live video show, like what you had. You've got the DJs, they're on TV doing the videos. So, and I remember back in the early days, like Dance Party USA, that's early for me. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when you have those live interactive music based shows, and that was, to me, that's really what energized and continued. That was like the social media for us. That's what kind of kept us in touch and, re-energized our love for the bands, the music, instead of, only once every 18 months when a new album comes out,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And we had live request lines. So it was so awesome that, and so this is a quick, if you will indulge me for a minute.
No, you've got the floor, Roxy.
So this is actually funny. Well, interesting, funny. So I kept getting all these requests for Dire Straits Money for Nothing. Mm-hmm. And we weren't allowed to play it because MTV had an exclusive. If anyone remembers back in the day, MTV would go, MTV exclusive.
Yes.
Whatever, make a big deal of it. So I had the video. I had a copy of it because Warner's would send me a reel with like all the releases. And so I had one, but we were told you can't play it. So I knew the manager, and I called his office in London. And this is actually a funny story. So the woman that answers the phone with this, this totally recognizable Queen's accent, New York accent. And I'm like, wow, you sound just like this woman I used to work with named Jeannie. And she goes, my name is Jeannie. I go, Jeannie, this is Roxy Myzal. She goes, oh my God, Roxy Myzal. So meanwhile, it's so crazy. She married this English guy, moved to London, got a gig in the office of Dire Straits manager. So I explained to her what's going on. He was traveling. So she said I think he was in LA or something. She goes, I'm going to call him right now, and I will tell him what's up, and I'll have him call you. So he calls me and he says, absolutely, you can play the video. I don't care what happens. If anyone from the label calls you, you tell them to call me. So the video went in there, told the DJ, said, here you go. Let's play with some Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. And it was like, ah. So of course, Warner Brothers calls up. They're all flipping out. You can't play that. You got to please take it off the air. Please take it off the air. MTV is freaking out. So, and meanwhile, MTV's music director, whose girlfriend lived in Boston, he would be up there every weekend checking us out to see what we were doing, so that was kind of funny. I remember when he admitted that to me, I thought it was really funny. So, yeah, we got to play it. So, I always look at me, always trying to buck the system, but
that's what we love
it's,
about
it's always about it, my whole career, it's always about who and timing, that the right place, right time, right?
Yeah, so, and that's I think a lot of that is based on the universe. I truly believe that you receive what you give, and everything that you've done for people, for all throughout your career in the music business, you definitely deserve being in the right places in the right time with the who you knows.
Yeah. God, I mean, I'll never forget. So I'm running the record pool, and a friend of mine knew me from the disco era, but he was working with ZZ Top. And it was the first time ZZ was coming to Boston to play Boston Garden. And so he phones me up and he goes, we're coming to town. And if you, this was like before I guess when they were booking their tour.
Gotcha.
He said, I really would like to, what's a good hotel where, what's the best restaurant nearby, blah, blah, blah. He says, and I'll hook you up. You'll come to the show with me. I'm like, great. I'd love it. I can't wait. And this was the Texas Live tour, the Texas Worldwide tour, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The stage was the shape of Texas. Mm-hmm. Out a forklift, up comes a live longhorn steer. They had like an eagle or a turkey buzzard or something. They had rattlesnakes, which one got loose or some kind of snake got loose in the backstage, whatever. So and actually, so this is a quick one. So this is that's almost how I got the job offer at Atlantic, because the president of Atlantic Records was we're all at the soundboard. He's standing at the soundboard too. And I look at him and he's wearing an Atlantic, satin jacket. Satin jackets were a really big deal in the 70s. So I say to him, oh man, you guys just signed, a CJ and Company, the song Devil's Gone. It's so good, blah, blah, blah. He goes, how do you know about this? And I introduced myself. And so when I got the gig at Atlantic after 3-4 months of doing local, he calls me into his office. He goes, I remember, Roxy, when I met you, and blah, blah, blah. And so I want you to run our disco department at Atlantic. So that's how I
that's cool. You see,
anyway.
Yeah,
I'm going back and forth, so I'm not doing a linear thing here. Sorry.
No. That's that's what I love about it, because I want it to be organic. I want your stories to come out of you naturally, because I want people to understand truly, why we all love you so much. Those of us that know you, I want people to understand that. So, it doesn't have to be linear. I just want it to be you.
All right. So all right. So Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Turns out my father used to buy cattle in upstate New York from his grandmother. Now, Billy, as a child who was born in Houston, I think. His dad conducted orchestras for motion picture music, right? And had to work that summer. So Billy was sent up to his aunt and uncles in my hometown. And so, I don't know, he was 8 maybe, and I was 7, and his aunt owned a ladies' clothing store. So we would play hide and go seek in the clothing racks. Okay. So years go by. Then my mother goes, you knew Billy Gibbons when I was getting ready to go to see ZZ Top at Saratoga Performing Arts at our local shed upstate. And so she goes, you knew him like when he was a kid, I think. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she reminds me, I'm like, holy crap. And so I'm going backstage after the show. And I said to Billy, I said, I don't know if you remember this, but then he went on and on about, holy cow. Yeah. And then I go, I think my father bought cattle from my father was a butcher, bought cattle from your grandmother and blah, blah, blah. So, that always endeared me with.
Wow.
And so yeah.
That is so cool. I mean, I've got some cool people that I went to school with and grew up with, and I love them all dearly. None of them were Billy Gibbons, though. BFG is the man. So
totally.
You got a really awesome connection with them. And I mean,
man, even to this day, it's funny. We emails. I used to get a pecan pie from him every Christmas.
Pecan pie. Oh man, I'll tell you right now, I could eat those day and night.
No kidding.
Yeah, especially this time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh my gosh. Now you're making me hungry, Roxy. We're talking about who where being at the right place, right time. I mean, how in the hell do you have a history with a Kardashian in your life?
Oh God, that was the freakiest thing. Yeah. The freakiest thing. All right, where did we leave off? I was at V66 in Boston, the TV station, and then that was sold to the Home Shopping Network, right?
Yeah.
So a really close friend of mine, Jay Thomas, he was on Cheers, he was on Mork and Mindy. Anyway,
yeah,
he was offered a job doing mornings at the hip hop station in LA, Power 106. So he calls me up because you're out of a job and I got to drive out to California and I'm starting a new gig. Why don't you come out to California? Maybe you'll find a gig there. Because I was lamenting, I don't know if I want to go back to New York City. I don't know what I want to do. So I did. We drove across country. We had a great time. And so I'm job hunting and I find this gig and it was with a smaller syndicator, but it ended up being bought by MCA Radio Network. So here we are on the Universal lot in what at the time was Director John Hughes' former office. We were in this penthouse in this unbelievable huge office. It was really cool. Balcony, outside, whatever. So I meet the new head of the company, Robert Kardashian. And there was no Kardashians in those days. He was just a former lawyer, friend of O.J. Simpson, who we were doing a show with, a morning show called, it was like a short feature called Breakfast with O.J. And I remember we had to send him to elocution school because he'd be like this. Well, and he'd be like all over the mic. And we go, no, you gotta stay right on the mic because he'd be like blah, 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 blah. It was funny. But anyway, so one day he brings his daughter, these two little girls that were, I don't know, maybe they were 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah.
Kim and Courtney.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so darn cute. And,
wow.
Who knew, decades later what they would turn into, but
right.
And I'm sure Bob is like, rolling around in his grave over this,
you would think so.
What they've done to themselves. And crazy stuff. But he was like a real down to earth guy, he was a, former lawyer and really cool, nice, really nice family man,
Yeah. I've talked to a few people that, when I say knew him, we're acquaintances, met him a variety of times or whatever. And that's very consistent with what everybody else said. Just a really, really nice dude, and you can tell he was genuine, you could read, if you could read through people's bullshit, you would know that he was 100%, legit with you.
Yeah.
He's good.
If you remember like the day that the verdict came down and, they're all, and the verdict is read and everyone is like, yeah. And Bob is like, his face was like, oh. So I took that to believe, to make me believe that maybe not guilty.
Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. But that was interesting. But sadly, we couldn't. I was thinking, here we are with MCA and Universal Pictures and Universal Television. We could have all this synergy and soundtrack stuff and do all these things. And the only thing we got to really do is Boston was putting out our first record in decades. So we did a big special with it, but we just couldn't. The Irving Azoff really wasn't into helping us
Yeah.
really, see our full potential. So they closed the company, and then I ended up working for a friend from Boston who had a music video production company. And so they hired me to be the director's rep. So I was in charge of getting the jobs for the guys to direct. And so,
cool.
Yeah. So that was fun. And I guess my one of our big claim to fames was ready Winger.
What? Really?
17 and headed for a heartbreak,
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so rad.
Yeah, that was pretty, I thought it was pretty cool. But my director, we also worked with Kiss and well, before I got there, Quiet Riot, Come On, Feel the Noise, and oh god,
golly,
and one of my favorite, I guess they're a one-hit wonder, but Autograph, Turn Up the Radio. Every time I hear that song, I'm like, it's such a great song.
It's an anthem. It is something that we're missing today. I mean, I understand that they're writing for the immediate paycheck and the million streams or whatever, but God, I wish we had. I mean, A7X writes some good anthems. Of course, you got the usual suspects, aren't they? I think they're releasing their album next year. Yeah, the whole COVID thing, they didn't want to, on the backside of COVID and kind of, shock the system. So from what I heard, and I could be talking out of my ass, but from what I heard, it's their new album should be coming out next year.
That's good.
But
I like those guys. Yeah. We always got along real good with them.
Yeah. You guys really, that was, I'll tell you, some of my greatest rock and roll memories was, the relationships, created with hardDrive. I mean, that, I can't tell you the last time I listened to a radio show intently. For those of us in the radio world, we know that scheduled listening as a listener, I mean, for hardDrive and hardDriveXL, that's probably the last scheduled listening I've had in my life. Golly, y'all connected.
Yeah, I wish somebody would ran it around here. I was always hoping they would play it down in Fort Myers, but I just could never get it happening. But I'll check it out on. I have Alexa. I listen to. I'll listen to JJO. Because I know the times it's on. So
yeah.
Check it out. But hardDrive was great. It was such a fun thing to do, and I remember when we were, because the show started out as a heavy metal show called Pure Concrete. And actually, at the time, the PD from Q104 in New York was the host of it.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, so we decided that we wanted to make it, because actually, what was it? Extreme Radio in Vegas came on the air, and I was really intrigued by their playlist and Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down and all these bands, and I was like, this is where I really like to see it going.
Yeah.
So Korn, of course.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we got to find a new host, right? So the head of programming brought in this box of cassettes, right? And like, here's all these air checks, checking them out, and this person, that person. I'm like, God, I know this guy, but I don't think he's right, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom of the box is this, Lou Brutus, so frankly, I hadn't never heard of before. I didn't, wasn't really familiar with him. And I put it in, and he's talking to the guys from Tool, and I thought, well, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I forgot what else was on there. But I walked into my boss. I said, this is the guy. This is definitely the guy. I hear him. He's the one. So he got hired, and the rest is history, as they say.
Does he still have that air check that he sent in?
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
I'm kind of scared to go back and listen to some of my old air checks. I just know. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't y'all get rid of me a lot sooner?
Oh God. Stop.
Okay, so you mentioned just a second ago, he was talking to the guys from Tool. How did you, I mean, obviously, you're Roxy Myzal. I mean, it's not how did you hook up with Maynard, but how did that come about? The
book tour. The book tour.
The book tour for I can't even say the word.
No, I know the title is
curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon. Oh, geez. Wait. I don't have my phone here, and I'm on Dwight's computer, so I can't.
Yeah, my phone's on the floor. So
anyway, it's a long title. And recently, actually, he got in touch with me and said that there was they were selling. They had filmed the New York. New York was I did 3 shows with him, New York and 2 shows in Washington, D.C. So the New York one, they filmed it, and he made a kind of quote unquote pay-per-view, like a few years later, actually. I was like, well, that's funny. But I guess he liked it. He liked me. Yeah.
And it's I'm trying to think. It's available on I think it's available on it's available on Amazon, and I know it's on the Pusfer website. I can't remember. I can't remember there was a third one, but I want everybody, check that out.
They should definitely check it out. I love Pusfer. I just, fun stuff. I like the band. Matt Mitchell's a cool guy. The band is cool.
Now,
but that was an interesting thing. And really his manager was the one that called me, because actually prior to that, when Pusfer was coming through New York just to do some press, he and Matt had come by, and we just, I did like an hour interview with them, and he was so, and because I wanted him to be comfortable, because I know he hates doing interviews, and can't tolerate insufferable people. So I guess I hit all the right for him,
that's awesome.
And so it worked out. It was great.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty flattering too. When that's badass. Okay, so I know hardDriveXL has fanatics. hardDrive and hardDriveXL has fanatics like myself, like we were talking about a minute ago. And anybody knows that they listen, that Lou signs off with in the words of Hunter S. blah blah. So is that your influence?
No, I mean that was his. No, he was way into Hunter S. Thompson.
Well, you can tell just by the way he lives his life. I mean, because he truly, because when you brought up the Hunter S. Thompson story earlier, I'm like, wait a minute, is that a curveball?
Oh yeah, no, and it's funny. It was sort of like he was a big Kiss fan. I had a great Kiss encounter.
Yeah.
We had a lot of similarities.
Yeah. That's all. Who's been some of like your, I guess you'd say that, the relation, I don't want to say who were your favorite, which idols did you get to meet? But I know you got really close with, with Korn, with Slipknot, Metallica. I mean, and, you nurtured all those relationships like their family. So you got to pick your favorite child. Which one of, those big rock stars do you're like, oh yeah, that's that one I love the most? Or can you?
I hate doing that. That's like, you're a parent and you have, 6 kids, and who's your favorite kid? I really loathe to do that, but I do have so many, and I do love so many. I mean, I love Dave Grohl's one of my favorite people, and the whole thing with Taylor is just so heartbreaking. And I just hope they find the right person to fill that slot and carry on. I just can't see the world without Dave Grohl in it. but I know he has other kind of aspirations. He likes directing stuff.
Yeah.
He did that crazy movie, and he's done some music videos. And so, I don't know. I think he'll always be a songwriter and a performer, but I wonder if, maybe his book was great.
Right.
But yeah, I'm pretty close with Korn. Every show I'm, there, and it's very funny. I remember being in the audience one time, and so I'm sitting. I usually don't sit in a seat, but I was in a seat.
Mm-hmm.
Kid was sitting behind me, and he goes, "Hey, are you into this band?" I was like, "Yeah, I love these guys. Are you their like mom or grandma or something?" Because I've always had gray hair. I'm like, "No." I turned around. I said, "No, I'm actually their lawyer." And then that shuts them up, because I don't want to say, "Yeah, I know them."
Yeah.
Drive and blah blah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm their lawyer. They even liked it.
Oh, who have been some of the most interesting? And they don't really even have to be, like artists you've had on your various shows, but some of the most odd maybe encounters you may have had, because you've seen them all.
I have had some odd encounters. One is this is a little risque, but I've known the guys in Kiss since I was the music director at the Top 40 station in New York, and we played the hell out of Beth. Right, so at that time, we would do an annual children's Christmas auction, and we'd get items from, people. Like I got a flannel nightgown from Carly Simon, for example. Whoa. And got song lyrics written on a placemat from James Taylor, and whatever.
Yeah.
But Kiss just sent over some guitar pick, the usual guitar picks and signed pictures, whatever. Not even a guitar, but anyway. So, we gave it away. So Kiss Alive tour is in New York, and afterwards was a huge party at a building called the Harkness Ballet School up in the Upper East Side. And it was the most beautiful building. You walked in, there was like a sculpture with diamonds and emeralds and butterflies. Wow. And whatever. So it was pretty neat. So I'm walking in the building, and Gene is now there with his parents, and he's wearing like this brown pinstripe suit. And I have another brown pinstripe suit story. Anyway, so a brown pinstripe suit, and I say, "Gene, Roxy from 99X, I wanted to say thank you. We got like $800 whatever for that stuff, and I just want to say thank you." Because, "Oh, really?" So he grabs me, like, leans me down like the movie star kiss, right?
Yeah.
And sticks his tongue right down my throat.
Holy!
Exactly down the throat. I'm like, "What?" And then stands me back up. And if I was a cartoon character, it would have been a big bubble with like birds and flowers going around. Like, what just happened? In front of his parents, no less.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. So then, so now decades later, interviewing the band for hardDrive, and they were in town for the Kiss convention. And so I'm wrapping up. This is back in the day when you used a DAT machine. So I'm wrapping up the gear, right? And I've got my back to him. I'm in his hotel suite. And he goes, "Oh, Roxy, I've got some Kiss memorabilia for you." I'm like, "Oh, really? Cool." And so my back is to him, and I'm wrapping up wire and stuff. And all of a sudden, this condom, a used condom, like comes, shoo, and hits the wall, and then drops down onto the couch where I'm wrapping my gear. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Wow.
You just threw a used condom at me? What is wrong with you?
Holy shit.
Of course, this is, before... Well, it wasn't before AIDS, but I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know where you've been, or what you've been with. Get that out of here.
Yeah. He's well known for.
He was gross. Yeah. And in the Me Too thing, I probably, because every time he'd see me, he'd go right for the breast. "Hey, how are you, Roxy?" I'm like, "Oh man, get out of here."
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much consistent with the stories that you
it
hear.
was something you expect from him.
Yeah, exactly. That's something you would definitely expect from him. Oh my gosh.
So wait. So the brown pinstripe suit. So this
yeah.
All right. So Billy Idol was I worked at Chrysalis Records also for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I was doing national album promotion, East Coast. And so Billy comes into the office and he's got his little motorcycle boots, black jeans, wearing a cape with a white ruffle shirt with the wallet chain and everything hanging down. And he's all pissed off and like, what's wrong? He goes, I'm trying to rent me an apartment. No one will rent me anything. And so, he said, well, maybe you need to maybe change your outfit up or something, kind of like maybe just like a sports jacket, and kind of chill it down a little bit, with the hair. And so, that's a good idea. And so like about a week later, he comes in a 3-piece brown pinstripe suit. And the chain is still there though, but sort of modestly, connected. And beaming. He's been with the white ruffled shirt with the collar ruffled. So he's all excited now because he goes, I got me an apartment. Because I turned him on to this building that was near my old neighborhood. I said, check this out. You might be able to find something. So sure enough, he gets the apartment. I said, see, clothes make the man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's we talked about Billy Idol, Gene Simmons, Maynard, Billy Gibbons. I mean, we started off with the Beatles. We've got, Robert Plant giving you a job.
Wait, there's more.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm trying to wrap my head around all of it. It's crazy.
Aerosmith. I knew Aerosmith right before they exploded. And my roommate used to go out with Joey Kramer.
What?
And so they would go out, on their tour. And Joey had this big Great Dane named Tiger, like brindle color, whatever.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
And this darn dog, he loved me. And he would climb. I had an antique bed that was kind of high off the ground, 4-poster bed. So he would climb into bed and put his head on the pillow and sleep like a human. It was crazy. But
wow.
But anyway,
that's cool.
So the whole Aerosmith thing, go way back with those guys. Even to this day, when I get to bump into them somewhere, it's always like Roxy. Actually, Joe Perry lives here in right up in Longboat Key.
Oh, really?
As does Brian Johnson of AC/DC.
Wow.
And still trying to bump into these guys. I thought for sure, it's not very big town, but I thought for sure, I'll be in a restaurant one night and I'm sure I'll bump into them. But
wow, that's pretty cool though.
I know. It'd be fun.
Yeah, that's great to be able to bump into them and reminisce and just the stories y'all have would I mean, like I said, you need to be there needs to be a documentary, a movie made about your life. It's all inspiring.
Wait, I'll tell you, with Lou, we would have so much fun because we'd cover, and I think you were there a few times, but Rock on the Range,
Oh yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
And Lou will say the same thing. We'd go there and we'd be like, the little commandos, and we knew this was our mission. 40 interviews, and this is before, I guess, now they're videoing the interviews, but 40 interviews. Yep. We got to take the pictures. We got to get the liners. Like quiet room.
Yeah.
I was always a freak. It can't be out in the crowd. It's got to be quiet.
It's got to sound good.
It's got to sound good. Exactly.
Go through all that effort, and especially for such a huge show, you don't want it to sound like it's produced on the back road. So
and like shit happens. So you always want to stay on schedule. Don't lose the thing. And poor Lou, I would drive him crazy because I'd be yelling at him, "Gotta stop this interview. We gotta go to the next thing. And we only have a few more minutes. Come on." And I'd be like, Oh,
I love Lou to death, and he's a national treasure, as are you. you two, you two really had a huge impact on my, back third of my radio career. You always were progressive thinking. It was like hanging out. You remember back in the day, you'd hang out at your friend's house and you wait for your favorite song to come on, you push record. It's kind of like what the show was with hardDriveXL and hardDrive, to start things off. It always felt like I was just hanging out with my buddies and, way back in the day, and we were listening to our favorite songs. I mean, it was a great experience, a great relationship, y'all. You created with your audience. I mean, you were creating content way before all these people are now creating content. I mean, and well, everybody, we were all creating content, but you guys truly hit the nail on the head. I mean, the perspective you offered the audience was as if you were part of the audience listening to the show.
Well, I remember starting out, hardDrive was very hard to get interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if it was somebody that was based in LA, that had a publicist, a lot of doors you would have to knock on in order to get an interview. And I remember this one company that had at the time, I don't know, Smashing Pumpkins and all these people that I was really, the label was like, no, he's really hard. You got to go through the, manager. You got to go through the publicist.
Yeah.
We're not, he doesn't like us, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and trying to, we would have to educate people on like, look, it's a syndicated show. You're not going to hear it where you live, unfortunately, but here's the list. Here's how many bodies are listening, because we would give them the Cume thing, and, show them everything. And then it finally, it would take, more face-to-faces, they would see us in action at Rock on the Range or something. All of a sudden, boom. Okay.
Right.
All right. We get, these guys are good. They know what they're doing. They're not some schlocky,
No.
Can I get the interview and get tickets, and my girlfriend, can I get like 5 other tickets for my friend? No.
Yeah. Concert days suck. I mean, as soon as concert day comes, I mean, I turn my phone off. I don't look at Messenger. I'm like, I have to get a tattoo on my forehead. No, I do not have free tickets.
Right. Exactly.
Go buy them so the bands keep playing, so they keep touring.
So they can feed themselves. And I also have to give a shout out to Randy Hawk. Randy is somebody that, we met early on. And, when I came up with the idea to start hardDriveXL, and I told my boss, Andy, I said, I don't have time to do both of the 27 hours a week of programming. I can't do it by myself. So we gotta have somebody. And, I don't do the clock thing, so I need somebody, and I asked if we, could hire Randy. And so, my boss said yes. And Randy's taken the reins of actually both shows programming wise.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Randy from the legendary JJO. Don't they have Pantera booked next year? I think they were like, I don't know. I may be thinking of the wrong market, but I thought they're like the first U.S. date was
Madison.
Was Madison. I may be wrong, but
I'd have to look at that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, my phone's on the floor, so I can't.
It's funny. I am friendly with the management, the old and new management of Pantera, and when I first heard that. And, knowing the history of all that and the everything that had gone down, with Phil leaving and this and that, I found it incredulous that, they were that Phil wanted to, get back and do this. And then the more I thought about it, and then, saw friends on Facebook that had worked with them and were talking about it, and said, the brothers would be really happy about this. They'd be smiling, because now people that never got to see Pantera or hear Pantera live, will get to do that.
Yeah.
Said, okay.
Yeah. I was exactly the same. I mean, and when I first heard about it, I was very asshole-ish vocal about it, because you know, man, come on. Yeah, I know who they're filling in with, blah, blah, blah. But, and like you said, after, you know, it's kind of like take a deep breath, step back. And, you know, after seeing, you know, their friends and family and how everyone connected in their web, their tribe, how everybody was reacting to it. And then after that first show, seeing the video, and man, Phil is sober now, I guess. And he sounded great. I'm with you. I think it's fantastic. And I can admit when I was wrong, you know. I'm wrong a lot, but yeah, that and I hope I get to see him on this round. But if not, I got to see Pantera back in the day, so I at least got that in my memories.
I remember seeing him at the Ozfest, and afterwards, actually a couple of times. One wasn't at Ozfest, but at Ozfest was a party in the brothers' dressing room, and Dime is there. I guess the road manager of shoot, what were they called? They're from Tennessee. Full Devil Jacket.
Full Devil Jacket. Yeah, Full Devil Jacket.
Remember Full Devil Jackie?
Yeah, Full Metal Jackie.
Full Metal Jackie. But anyway, so he had his he was a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
So you know, he let Dime borrow his works, and Dime was giving everyone his famous reset button. Right?
Oh,
so
my
anyone
gosh,
who wanted a
awesome.
reset button would, like, you know, put their arm out and Dime would do it, you know.
That
was hilarious. I'm like standing there going, "You've got to be kidding me!" You know, and he's like, "You know, yeah, you know, woo, yeah. Don't drop that deal."
Yeah, nowadays that definitely wouldn't happen. I mean, we're way past way past that. That's I'm glad I got to experience some of that reckless behavior.
Yes.
Before it all came crashing to a halt, because I don't think we're going to see any more of that.
No, I know. You know, but another one was they were on a bill with Static X and Slayer, I think.
Oh, wow.
You know, crazy. It was a crazy night. And it was in Long Island at Nassau Coliseum. And so it was somebody's birthday. I want to say it was either Bob Chaparty from Concrete Marketing or Andy Gould. It was somebody's birthday. So this giant cake comes into Pantera's dressing room now. And their dressing room was like whatever the hockey dressing room for the visiting team.
Yeah.
Okay? And so imagine this big room with all the cubby things, you know, and everything. And so this cake ends up going everywhere in the room. Like, you know, it's like, watch out, you know, cake, you know. It's like, so I like run out of there and I go into the next room, which ended up being Phil's dressing room. And in those days, Phil really scared me. I couldn't like be near him. He really frightened. There was something about him that was like, he frightened me. I thought he was going to
he was angry
or something, you know, like rip my arm off or something. I don't know, but it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'll never forget that.
No, those are definitely you longer than me. You were in 42 years, right? 42, 43.
42 years. I think my first job was, well, the record pool was 75, and then I left in 17.
So. Wow. The memories, you know,
I still remember it. You know, that's the one thing I get. I have a memory. There's things, you know, maybe I have, you know, I don't get all the details right, but I still, so far, so good.
Yeah. And many of those things.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Well, Roxy, I appreciate you taking some time today. I love you. I think you are a huge inspiration to a lot of people in the music industry, not just from my side on the radio, on the broadcast side, but you know, from the fans, you know, from the fans of your shows to the artists to you always people hear me preach the whole be a good human, and you've always been one of my inspirations because you just really know how to live a life your way and you've got the middle finger in the air, F you if you don't like it, but it's in a very courteous, in a very gentle way. And I love you, and I love what you've done for my career. Just the impact of knowing you has been huge, and this has been an honor today.
Well, I hope I get to see you in the flesh one of these days. So yeah, you never know. Maybe we'll both be out at one of the conventions in Vegas again. I'd love to share a beer with you.
Let's go ahead and make that plan.
Good idea.
Yeah, let's we'll make a plan for the next convention in Vegas. So we'll be able to wrap this up in person.
Exactly. I can give you a big hug.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Roxy.
All right, right on.
All right, bye-bye. The great Roxy Myzal, the woman has been in the music business for decades and has had an impact on all the lives that she's touched, all the big bands that she's met. People are family and friends to her. She's never met a person she didn't like. She's just that badass of a woman. Love her to death. She is, she's definitely one of those that had a huge impact on my career and my life, as she did on many other careers and lives all throughout the music industry. Roxy, I love you. Can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Don't forget, you can find Loud and Unfiltered online at DaleJr.forPresident.com. The lawyers tell me because, well, we got to have a disclaimer every time I say the website. We are not affiliated with Dale Earnhardt Jr. or his desire to run for president. LoudandUnfiltered.com was already taken, so I went with the next best thing, being a big NASCAR fan. Dale Jr. for President.com. We got some new merch up. We got a bunch of articles. You can catch up on latest episodes of the show and more. Find us on all the socials and podcasting platforms. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, ring that bell, buy some merch. Any way you could support it, it'll keep this show going on. That way we can continue to have amazing guests like Roxy. Again, I'd like to thank her so much for joining us. Hope you have a fantastic day. Please remember, be a good human, drink that Diet Dr. Pepper, and be loud and unfiltered, y'all.